Hello everybody, it's the Bricklord here, back with another video, and today is finally the day I get around to answering all of the questions you guys asked me for my Q&A for reaching 250 subscribers, which once again I have to thank you all for that. Truly happy that we have actually passed that milestone, but as I mentioned, to reward you all, I wanted to do another Q&A, and you guys absolutely flooded my comments on that thank you video with over like around 40 to 45 questions that you guys asked me total, which is just seriously incredible. Thank you all so much for all of the amazing questions you guys asked me on that video. And so obviously this is to answer all of those. And yeah, I mean, really not a whole lot else to say. I'm just going to go through, end up answering all of the 40 some questions that were asked. So this might end up being a slightly longer video. I don't know how long it's going to end up actually totaling out to be, but I really do hope you guys will enjoy this and will learn maybe a little more about me from some of these questions. But yeah, really not a whole lot else to say except I'm just so excited to do this and I can't wait to answer all of these questions. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with the video. And the first question I'm going to start off with here is, what is my favorite Ninjago figure ever made? Now that is a really awesome question and also a really difficult one to answer, just because there is so many Ninjago figures that have been produced since 2011 till basically now of 2021, and obviously still going forward there will be many more produced. So that's just really hard to answer. But you know, some of my favorite, the original Samukai is a really awesome Ninjago figure. Also the original Lloyd ZX figure is just so classic and ninja looking, and it symbolizes Ninjago in many ways. But you know, also the amazing Overlord figure, which I don't think can ever be replicated as well as that original one. And you know, Nauticon is an awesome figure. The Time Twins are really excellent as well. They just have so much detail. And also, you know, even in recent memory now, Prince Calamar, man, did they really outdo themselves with this figure as well. There's just so many amazing Ninjago figures, and these are just some that I think are really excellent. It's really just impossible to choose one because there are so many excellent ones, but I think that these are some pretty excellent choices in my opinion. And the next question here, there is multiple in this one, but the first one is, what got me into making a YouTube channel? I believe I answered this on my 50 subscribers Q&A, but I will answer it again, no problem. The things that really got me into a YouTube channel, you know, firstly, is I wanted to put my thoughts out there on different rankings, especially ranking the seasons. But you know, I would watch other Ninjago YouTubers ranking the seasons, ranking this, ranking that, and I would always be like, you know, I would change this, and this. And so that is one thing that motivated me quite a lot to start a YouTube channel. And then also, my first video was the Trial by Mino Season 13 outro soundtrack, and at the time I posted that, nobody had done a video on that soundtrack yet, and I really wanted to add it to a Ninjago soundtrack playlist that I had, and so I made my own video on it. And yeah, those two things together is really kind of what I guess was the jump start of my channel, and then I just kept going from there, and that's where we're kind of at today. And so yeah, that's what really started my actual YouTube channel. And the next question in this line of questions here is, what is my favorite Ninjago wave? And that's a excellent question as well. If any of you guys remember, sometime back I did a video on ranking all of the Ninjago set waves. I can't remember, that may have only gone up to season 13, I believe is what it was. And my opinions have changed some, and I do need to remake that video. But for me, easily my favorite set wave has got to be probably Possession. It's just a really awesome set wave, and it just looks so amazing when you put all of the Possession sets together. But also I have to say the Prime Empire wave is another one of my favorite Ninjago waves. I really love having all of those sets on display and just looking at the whole wave together. And also, as new as it is, and I don't have all of the sets yet, but I've kind of seen all of them together, and I have to say that the Seabound wave as well is probably one of my favorite Ninjago waves. And lastly, Season 1, that wave is just so nostalgic and incredibly large as well. But I would say the top tier, full standing one as my favorite has probably got to be Possession. It's just an amazing set wave. And the next question here is, what is my first Ninjago set? And that's a really excellent question. I can't remember if I answered this on my 50 subscribers Q&A or not, but my first ever Ninjago set, it was actually two of them at the same time, and it was the small, I believe it was like $10 Venomari Shrine set, and then also the Rattlecopter, and those two were my first Ninjago sets I ever got. I never did get anything from the pilots, really. I kind of got into the show right as the pilot set wave was kind of ending and season 1 sets were kind of in their prime and just coming out. So yeah, those were my first two sets. And then if anybody is curious, the first two sets I ever got with my own money that I saved up were the Garmatron and the Fire Mech from season 2. But yeah, the first two that I ever actually got, though, starting my Ninjago sets collection, were the Rattlecopter and the Venomari Shrine. And the next question here is, what is the most recent Ninjago set I have gotten? And that's an excellent question as well. As of the time I'm recording this, I do have 2 Seabound sets on order, and they are, oh wait, I don't think I'm going to share that because I want to save that for a opening video. Yeah, okay. But I do have 2 Seabound sets on order, but the most recent Ninjago set I have actually gotten is a second copy of the Tournament of Elements set, and let me explain why. So if any of you didn't know, I already did have the Tournament of Elements set. I got it actually pretty soon right after it had came out. And the reason I got a second is because, as you guys know, I was not planning on ever buying the Legacy X1 Ninja Charger, and unfortunately that set came with the amazing 10th anniversary golden collector's edition Cole, and I wanted that golden figure. And so I ordered the golden Cole secondhand. The figure came. Unfortunately, the seller, it was kind of, very undescriptive what it came with, if it came with the stand and the weapon or not. Unfortunately, it did not come with the stand or the weapon. Luckily, I had the weapon pieces, no problem. And then the stand, I had all the pieces except for obviously a 10th anniversary tile. So I kind of decided, I'm going to go buy a second Tournament of Elements so I can get a 10th anniversary tile basically. But it's okay though, because now my Tournament of Elements is double the size and it looks even way more like the palace inside the show. So it's really awesome. But yeah, that's actually my most recent Ninjago set. And then hopefully my Seabound ones will come soon. And the last question of this bunch here is, what is my favorite Seabound set? And that's another excellent question. I believe I talked about it some on my, covering the official images of the Seabound and Summer Legacy sets. But it's really difficult to choose. I mean, my 2 favorites would have to be the Amazing Hydro Bounty and also the excellent Temple of the Endless Sea. Both of them are really amazing sets, and it's kind of quite difficult to choose between either one of them as my official number 1 at the moment. Maybe leaning towards the Hydro Bounty, but if anybody knows, I really do love structure builds in LEGO though as well. So it's quite a toss-up for me, and they're both really excellent sets, and I would recommend both of them, and I really can't choose between either of them. And the next question here is, before I get to that though, thanks for the congrats on the milestone. I really appreciate that. But what is my favorite childhood show besides Ninjago, obviously? Great question. And I believe I mentioned this show in my 50 subscribers Q&A, but when I was quite a bit younger, the one childhood show that I can definitively nail down that I just absolutely enjoyed and would sit down and watch all the time was, and it's pretty old, the original 1969 Scooby-Doo animated television series, and I would sit down and watch this with my dad all the time, or even watch it by myself, though. And yeah, this is the one show I definitively remember from my childhood, and I just love this show. Even to this day, the Scooby-Doo Where Are You TV series is amazing. Even now, though, I still love other Scooby-Doo as well. I'm a Scooby-Doo junkie, so if anybody can relate, comment below. I love Scooby-Doo, the movies, and even some of the newer shows as well. But yeah, that original one is definitely the one show, though, I can remember from my childhood that I really, really enjoyed and was probably my favorite. And then later in my childhood, after season 2 of Ninjago and it was supposedly ending, then, Chima came around, and I really did get into Chima as well. I don't have anything against Chima. Sorry if that offends anybody, but yeah, I really like Chima as well. And then when we knew Ninjago was coming back at the same time, I got back into Ninjago. And then after that, though, when Chima had ended and Ninjago was still going, obviously I still was watching Ninjago, finished up Chima. But then that's kind of the end of the shows. I really then at that point got on the movie craze, where I was really getting into just movies, especially action and adventure movies and stuff like that. And I haven't really watched too much TV shows otherwise, up until the past couple recent years, that then now I've kind of watched, obviously, like The Mandalorian, and also another very old show, The Dukes of Hazzard, which I think I mentioned on my 50 subscribers special, and, just stuff like that. So in recent times now, I've watched some more TV shows, but yeah, my definitive favorite childhood show, though, besides Ninjago, has to go to that original 1969 Scooby-Doo classic TV series. And the next question is, do you think that Ninjago should go back to 8 22-minute episodes or stay at the 16 episodes, 11-minute format? And that's a really awesome question, and I'm glad somebody brought it up. As for my opinion, at first I was definitely not on board with the 11-minute episode format, and honestly, if it was up to me, I think I would have just stayed with the 22-minute format. But as of Seabound, I do think that they have definitely gotten much better at the 11-minute format. Season 11 was an absolute disaster. Season 12 was not too bad with the format, but could have been better. Season 13, the good episodes were good, and they were done well in that format. 14 was just too short in general, so it doesn't really matter. But season 15 for Seabound, I do have to say they did do the episodes quite well in the 11-minute format. So I think as of now, it does work. I mean, personally, though, I think I would have just stayed with the 22-minute format. But again, I think they are doing the 11-minute format well now, so I don't think it really matters, but I would go back to the 22-minute episodes, me personally. And for the second question in this group of them, will I do future tier lists for seasons? Like, I'm guessing tier list videos on my channel. Yes, I plan to. The tier list series, when I kind of did that, it was kind of at first one-off. I wasn't sure if I was going to continue, and it actually was relatively popular. So I will try to bring that back eventually, seeing as, one, my thoughts have changed on maybe some of the older seasons, and two, we obviously have season 14 and 15 now to do as well. So I probably will try to bring that back here eventually. I don't know how soon, but I do plan to do other tier list videos as well sometime in the future. And the next question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I hate the Lego Ninjago movie? 1 being I didn't hate it, and then 10 being I mega hate it, haha. But that's an interesting question. If you guys didn't know, I don't really love the Lego Ninjago movie. I mean, firstly, it's the thing that changed the ninjas' designs for good. It changed their designs in the TV show, which, I mean, it doesn't bother me as much now, but I definitely would have much preferred the very superior original designs, in my opinion. And then also, I mean, the movie as the movie, very lackluster, very sloppy, just not all that rewatchable, in my opinion. there's a couple moments, here and there that are kind of, oh, haha, that's kind of funny. But I mean, otherwise, though, the movie is just not that good. It's kind of a very poor representation, even if it's not trying to follow the Ninjago TV show story really in any way. It's just a kind of poor representation of Ninjago, in my opinion. So it's not all that good. Obviously, I'm not giving it a 1 because I dislike the movie quite a lot, but I'm not going to give it a 10 because I don't mega hate it. Like I said, there is a few kind of haha moments in it, but I mean, it's definitely around like a 7.5. I've only watched the movie a handful of times total, and I'm not going to probably rewatch it again here anytime soon. So, that's kind of my thoughts on it. I definitely do not like it really all that much, and so, yeah. And the next question is, what is the best new Ninjago moment in my opinion? Now, I guess let me define here what I consider new Ninjago. For me, new Ninjago is season 8 onward. Now, I know many people will say that it's season 11 onward because that's when the Will film era ended and stuff like that. But for me, the new Ninjago is once the design changes hit, which is season 8 onward. But with that out of the way, though, what's the best new Ninjago moment in my opinion? Well, there's actually a fair number of pretty darn good moments in new Ninjago. I mean, firstly, season 8 itself, Harumi's betrayal to Lloyd, well done. Also in, I guess, season 9, Master Wu regaining his memories, wow. Excellent scene there. At the end of season 9 in the finale, Lloyd versus Garmadon, also wow, well done. And then, jumping forward to season 12, Lloyd versus Harumi, mwah, love that fight scene, well done. Season 13, Cole unlocking Spinjitzu Burst, excellent scene. And then also, season 15, Seabound. I would just say season 15, Seabound. But in all honesty, though, as much as I'm unsure how they're going to go forward with the story and, what's going to come forth of it, but Nia's sacrifice slash kind of demise, so forth, whatever you want to call it, I do have to say, though, was written incredibly well. And that's another amazing moment from New Ninjago. So that's just to list a few that are pretty darn awesome moments in New Ninjago. I can't really choose just one, though. And the next question is, what is my favorite restaurant? I don't know if I've really mentioned on my channel before, but I like food. I like all sorts of food. I just like food in general, and I love all sorts of restaurants, and I would be here all day just listing off restaurants for the entire length of this video, so I'll only list off a few. But I really like Texas Roadhouse. That's one of my family favorites that me and my family always go to quite often. I also really like Red Lobster, Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's, Olive Garden. These are just to name a few. Like I said, otherwise I would be here all day listing off restaurants and food that I enjoy. So yeah, I just like food that much. But yeah, those are a few of my favorite restaurants. And the next question is, do I think that Season 16 will actually carry out the entire Vengestone arc, or will it just be set up for Season 17 and then conclude in that season? I really can't say for certain. Obviously, I am not the creators or writers in any way, and to theorize that if it'll actually happen, then nobody, I don't think, really knows. I mean, for me personally, I think that they should conclude it in Season 16, right after Seabound. I think they should get with the program personally, because they're going to kind of drag it out too long and people are going to kind of forget about it, or people are going to just be like, whatever. They just they're going to drag it out too long if they don't get with it, and people are going to kind of forget about it and not necessarily like it as much probably. So I think they should, in my opinion, conclude it in Season 16, or do a major plot point towards it and have most of Season 16 towards it, and then, if need be, continue it in 17. But I definitely think they should either do a major push forward with that story, or fully conclude it in the next season of Season 16, personally. And nextly here, has Season 3 always been my favorite Ninjago season? That's a really excellent question. If anybody has watched on my channel my most recent up-to-date ranking the seasons video with Season 15 Seabound, you guys will know my number one season and my favorite season is Season 3 of Rebooted. Now, has it always been my favorite? You know, I mean, that's kind of hard to determine. Definitely when Season 3 first came out, I knew I really enjoyed it, but I never kind of calculated up all the seasons to determine which was my absolute favorite. And then, as I started watching other Ninjago YouTubers do their rankings, I was sometimes disappointed where Season 3 would fall. It probably wasn't up until closer to when I started my channel that I started kind of nailing down and determining which seasons I like the best. I mean, Season 3 was always near the top. Possession, though, also is another one of my favorite seasons. It took the number 2 spot, actually. And there's times where I've kind of flip-flopped them, and Possession is number 1, Rebooted is number 2. I mean, I really love both seasons. I think right now, though, I would still definitively have to give it to Rebooted. But I mean, there's just so many good things in my opinion, and I've talked more in depth about why I like Rebooted in other videos on my channel. So if you guys want to check those out, I won't explain it all here, but I would have to say it's definitely either been my favorite or one of my favorites for since it came out. And so has it always been my absolute favorite? Not entirely sure, but it's definitely been up there for a long time. And nextly is, what is your favorite Ninjago episode ever? That is really an absolutely nearly impossible question to answer if I'm going to be completely honest, because there is just so many amazing episodes spread throughout all of the seasons of Ninjago, and I mean, seriously, that's next to impossible. I mean, if I had to choose one episode, I mean, I don't know if I would definitively always 100% say this is my answer, but if I had to choose one really amazing episode that I've always loved from Ninjago, it would have to go to the incredible Season 3 finale, the Titanium Ninja. I mean, that episode is really, truly awesome. I mean, I don't know that I can choose just one definitively forever and ever because there is so many amazing episodes. If I had to choose one episode, though, I would definitely go with that for now because that really is an amazing episode. But, again, there are so many amazing episodes throughout all of the amazing seasons of Ninjago. So to choose just one, I don't think is exactly fair, but I do think that is a good choice for one of my favorite episodes ever. And nextly, what do I think of Ninjago 2022 having a government focus? That's an awesome question. Personally, I mean, we don't know much, but I think it's a really interesting concept, and I think it could make for a really interesting season potentially. And I personally like government stuff, and me being an adult, I am relatively into politics. Obviously, I'm legally allowed to vote as well. I voted in the last election and everything. So, a government-focused season, I think, has the potential to be more mature, has the potential to have really interesting storylines, and overall, yeah, I think it's gonna make for something hopefully really interesting, and I'm definitely excited to see what they do with that type of season. So, yeah, hopefully it'll be really awesome for Ninjago 2022. And moving right along here, what is your number one guess for who the Vengestone buyer is? Now that's a really good question and actually tying in quite well to the last question about the 2022 government focus season of Ninjago. I know many people are speculating that the Vengestone buyer could be the elusive mayor of Ninjago, which if I did have to put money on it, that's actually a pretty reasonable guess. I mean, my best guess is it's going to be a new character, which the elusive mayor would technically be a new character. So I think the mayor is definitely a good choice, or just in general somebody new. But if I did have to choose an old character, I mean, that's kind of difficult to pinpoint. I mean, Pythor's a possibility. I mean, I haven't really thought too much on an older character who could be it because I just don't think they're going to go that route. And I just don't think that any of them would tie in that well for that storyline personally. So my best guess is it's going to be somebody new, or it's going to be what a majority of people think that it could turn out to be, the elusive mayor in the government focused season. And the next question, not necessarily Ninjago related. What is my favorite animal if I have one? That's a great question. And again, not Ninjago related, which is awesome. My favorite animal personally would have to be cats. Like just regular house cats. I just love cats. I personally have two cats. The first one, the black and white one, is Leo, and the second one, the plain black one, is Bello. And those are my two sweet fur babies. I love my cats so much, and they would have to be my favorite animals, and just cats in general. I really love cats. Dogs aren't too far behind. I do have two dogs as well, but I definitely like cats more than dogs, and cats would probably be one of my all-time favorite animals. So yeah. And the next question is a really excellent one, and it's, what exactly is your job? And now, if anybody has watched my channel for even a fair bit of time, you guys have probably heard me mention about my job, and that's the reason why many of my videos take quite a while to produce, or some get delayed, and I don't upload as often as I would personally like to, is because of my job. And I know I use the same excuse over and over and kind of recycle it, and it's probably getting old hearing me say that, but legitimately that is the case. I do have a full-time job and work a 40-hour work week like most Americans. I know 40 hours does not sound like a lot in the grand scheme of things when there's only 24 hours in a day, but if you think about it, if I work Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day at minimum, it totals up to 40 hours, which is a lot of work, long days. But what exactly is my job? That's a great question, though. So I actually put in really expensive, nice cabinets in $1 million or multi-million dollar homes. We usually put cabinets in kitchens, but sometimes we do other rooms in a house like laundry rooms, mud rooms, and bathrooms. But yeah, I go in multi-million dollar houses day in, day out, and work on putting hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cabinets in most of the time kitchens. And yeah, that's what I do for a living right now. And yeah, it's quite interesting. The most interesting thing to me is just seeing these really awesome exotic places that people just have so much money, and it's amazing what kinds of houses I can walk into on a daily basis. So that's what I actually do for my job, if anybody was curious, and I really am glad somebody brought up that as a question. So thanks for asking that, and I hope that kind of clears up when I just used the same old excuse that I was busy with work. So I hope that kind of gives some insight, and hopefully you guys can understand that I am busy and I would like to post more if I could. And the next question, did I ever have a Ninjago Dark Age where I didn't watch the show and or get the Ninjago sets? And that's a really excellent question. I never did have a Dark Age with the actual TV show. I was always watching the Ninjago show, and I always kept up with the season, so I never did have a Dark Age with the show. Now, I did have a Dark Age, I guess you could say, with the Ninjago set, because at the time when Ninjago was supposedly over, and then Chima had kind of moved up in the spotlight and was beginning, and then the Lego Chima sets were coming out, I will fully admit that I was mega into Chima, and I really wanted some of the really excellent Chima sets. And so at the time, it'll kind of surprise some people, but I was buying the first wave of Chima sets and really didn't get all that much from the season 3 rebooted sets. Originally, I only picked up like a couple sets, and they were like the Kai Fighter and then later the X1 Ninja Charger. But then I ended up acquiring a few more later in my life as well. But then season 4 for the sets was my mega dark age, because I only ever got one original season 4 set, and it wasn't even around the time of the season 4 wave release. It was actually during like the possession wave release, and it was a Christmas present, I think, from my dad, and it was the original Dojo Showdown, and that's really the only original season 4 Ninjago set I got. So I definitely had a mega dark age for the season 4 Ninjago set, and then I started getting back into them for season 5. So yeah, that's about my dark age with the sets. And nextly here is, if I watch Star Wars, what is your favorite film? I believe I did mention in my 50 subscribers Q&A, but I do like Star Wars, like the Star Wars films, I should say, and also The Mandalorian. But for what is my favorite Star Wars film? I would have to say it's definitely for sure not any of the new ones, episode 7 and onward, none of those movies. Probably for me, maybe episode or movie 6, Return of the Jedi. But I also do really like episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I know haters are gonna hate if you absolutely trash the prequels. But I actually personally enjoyed movie 3, Revenge of the Sith, so hate on me if you want. But those would probably have to be my two favorites. But I also really do like Star Wars: A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. All three of the originals are really good, but Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith have to be for sure my all-time favorites. So yeah. And the next question, what do you think is your most controversial Ninjago opinion? And this is a really excellent question, because obviously every Ninjago YouTuber has their own controversial opinions. Nobody will ever agree with everybody, but I know I tend to have more controversial opinions than many other Ninjago YouTubers. But probably my most controversial, I mean, off the top of my head, I would just say is me disliking, or I shouldn't say disliking, just not absolutely loving season 8, or really the Oni and Dragon trilogy as a whole, as much as most people do. I know most people always in my ranking the seasons comments, even now, are always like, season 8 is so low, and compared to my ranking list, I have season 8 much higher and stuff. And I mean, just again, for me, I don't really love season 8 as much as other seasons. I mean, I don't dislike it, but it's definitely just not all that great of a season to me. Same with the whole Oni and Dragon trilogy as a whole. I mean, I think they're fine, but they're definitely nothing special. And for me, that's kind of the primary reason that is probably my most controversial Ninjago opinion. Another big one I have is just liking season 7. I know many people just don't like that season, and I always get joy when I see somebody in my comments that says, I'm so glad to see season 7 higher up on somebody's ranking list, because it's always so low. But yeah, liking season 7 is probably another one of my most controversial opinions. I don't know, those would probably be my two most controversial, so you can decide which is more controversial of the two personally. And this next question, is there any Ninjago episode that I absolutely hate and cannot enjoy a single moment of? Yes, there is definitely absolutely a Ninjago episode that I absolutely hate and cannot enjoy at all, and it's easily the worst episode in Ninjago history, and it's perfectly named The Absolute Worst, from season 11, my least favorite all-time season. And the episode The Absolute Worst is literally the absolute worst episode in Ninjago history, and I hope that they will never ever go down that road again and absolutely just destroy Ninjago. So, for me, that is the one episode I absolutely cannot enjoy at all. Also, the Kaiju Protocol and Dungeon Party are not too far behind, but the absolute worst is by far the worst episode and the only episode of Ninjago I 100% hate. But yeah, Dungeon Party and the Kaiju Protocol aren't too far behind it either. And the next question is, what is my favorite Lego set in my collection? And that's a great question. Obviously, I have lots of really awesome Lego sets in my collection, from all my Ninjago sets, but also other things as well, some Marvel, and also my Lego Creator Expert roller coaster set. And that roller coaster is probably a contender for one of my favorite sets in my Lego collection. It really is an awesome set, but it's obviously not Ninjago. I mean, as for some of my Ninjago sets, though, I mean, my City of Sticks, I really do love that Ninjago set. Also, the Temple of Madness from Prime Empire is a really awesome set that I am glad to own. The Skull Sorcerer's Dungeon, though, is a really epic looking set, and I am definitely glad to own that. I guess also the original Ultra Dragon is a really cool set as well. But yeah, that's just to name a few in my collection. I really can't choose just one as my definitive favorite. Again, it's quite difficult. It's one of those where there's just so many excellent choices that choosing one is next to impossible. But I think those are some good choices from excellent sets in my collection. And nextly, what is my dream Ninjago set? That's a good question. I haven't honestly put all that much thought into what my really big dream Ninjago set could be. But if there's one set that really comes to mind that I would really like to see as a Lego set from Ninjago would be a Borg Tower. Now, over the years, people have made mocks of the Borg Tower. The one on screen right now is made by Croft Studios, and I forget how many years ago he made his. But I think if Lego were to do a Borg Tower set to full scale and put a level of detail that is high detail but obviously within reason for a Lego set, I think that would make for a really really epic Ninjago set. Another thing that comes to mind for me for a really awesome Ninjago set that I would just love to see would be it would be from season 3, the Arcturus spaceship, which I know Lego has done space themed stuff in like City before, but I would really love to see the full Arcturus spaceship, and then also like a whole set on the crater, like the comet, and then a few moon rovers. Like, I think that either all one big set or a couple sets, like, I think that would make for really awesome Ninjago sets as well. Those couple episodes that were themed in space, I think would be really awesome. So, I don't know. I mean, for me, those would be the first couple things that come to mind that I would really love to see awesome Ninjago sets produced for. And the next question, do I think that Zane got worse after he got his titanium form? Again, I hadn't put all that much thought into this topic, I guess, but I mean, for me, I'm going to say no. I mean, for me, season 8 is when I kind of started to lose interest in Zane, and from season 8 through season 12 is kind of the prime time where I really didn't enjoy seeing Zane on screen. Excluding his Ice Emperor like form or version in season 11, I actually did like seeing that. But otherwise, regular old Zane from season 8 through season 12, I just really didn't enjoy seeing on screen. I didn't like the personality they gave him most of the time. And his designs in those seasons, I mean, give or take, some was, I mean, just okay. I think some of his older designs were better even in his titanium form. So I mean, his initial human form was obviously, I think, his best versions, but his initial titanium form through season 7, I really don't have any issues with. So for me, I'm going to say that, yeah, I don't think he got worse after his titanium form up until season 8 through season 12. And then season 13 through season 15 of Seabound, I think they have definitely redeemed Zane some, and I feel like he's definitely better in the few most recent seasons, which is good. So yeah, that's kind of all my thoughts. I know some people will probably mega disagree with this. I don't know. But yeah, that's just my initial thought. So I don't think he inherently got immediately worse after his titanium form. And the next question, What do I think is the worst Ninjago season for Kai? That is super easy for me to answer. Easily, season 11 is his absolute worst season. I absolutely dislike Kai in season 11 for just so many reasons. I mean, he is just basically a pouty, whiny child who is so out of character from the Kai that we know and love. And it just disgusts me how they wrote him in season 11. I mean, come on. I mean, he was just so out of character, and I absolutely just really did not enjoy watching Kai on screen in season 11, pretty much the majority of season 11. So, I mean, for me, that's easily his worst season. And then another factor for that, and it's not exactly season 11's fault, it's more the movie's fault, but the design changes. I mean, Kai's new design personally to me makes him feel very immature and just very kiddish like. And yeah, that fit his awful personality they gave him in season 11, but it does not fit the more original, sporty, hot-headed, acts without thinking, kind of awesome, flamey kind of original Kai that we had back in the old days. So, I mean, for me personally, if anybody obviously can't tell, old Kai seasons 1 through 7 was obviously the much superior version of him. But yeah, season 11 was by far his absolute worst season for sure. And the next question is, what is the video on your channel right now that I am the most proud or satisfied with? That's a great question, and I'm glad somebody also brought that up. Obviously, there's some of the older videos on my channel, like the very old videos that I'm really not all that proud of in this day and age. Obviously, every YouTuber has their humble beginnings and has to start somewhere, and their oldest videos are probably not all that great a quality. But for me, some of the videos that I'm actually really proud of in this day and age, my updated ranking the seasons video as of season 15 of Seabound, I'm really happy with how that video turned out. Also, another really recent video, my top 5 villains video, I'm really happy with how that one turned out as well. And then also the video that I made, the 3 most overrated and underrated seasons video, I'm also pretty happy with how that one turned out as well. And there was lots of views and comments on that video as well. So those 3 are the videos on my channel that I would say I'm genuinely the most proud of right now. And the next question here, is Ninjago your favorite show, or is there a show I genuinely like better? That's a great question. I would say that Ninjago is my favorite show, but as I mentioned in like the favorite childhood shows section, I really do like that original 1969 Scooby-Doo, and also some of those other shows I mentioned like the Dukes of Hazzard and other movies and shows. But I would say that Ninjago is genuinely my, for sure, favorite. I mean, I really do love Ninjago and have followed it for, I mean, most of my later childhood, all the way up to even being an adult right now. So I would say that genuinely Ninjago is my favorite show, but I do like others. And the next question, who is your favorite Ninjago character besides the ninja? I'm assuming obviously that means any villains and any side characters alike. But for me, if there's one character that immediately just jumps to my head that is my favorite besides one of the main 6 ninja, it has got to be Moro. I really love Moro. He was an excellent villain, an awesome all-around character because of his redemption arc in Season 5 and Day of the Departed. And yeah, I mean, overall, Moro is a stellar character, and I just really loved what they did with his character and the way they implemented him into the story as a whole. So yeah, Moro is definitely easily probably one of my favorites. Obviously, my favorite character besides the ninja, but definitely one of my all-time favorite Ninjago characters. And the next question here, do I think that Kyler is an overrated ship? If anybody obviously doesn't know, which I sure hope you do at this point, but Kai and Skylar's relationship in the show, do I think it's overrated? I'm going to say no. I mean, at least not recently. There hasn't been, all that much talk with Kai and Skylar, seeing as Skylar really hasn't been all that prominent. I mean, was it a little overrated at first? I mean, maybe, but I mean, to be honest, not that I cared too much about the ships in Ninjago, but I did like Kai and Skylar together, and I think they made for a great duo, so I don't think it was really overrated. I think at times, people, blew it out of proportion, but such goes for everything. In the world, people will always blow stuff out of proportion and make it overrated. So I think it had its moments, but overall, I personally enjoyed it and don't think it was too overrated. And the next question, do you think they will bring Nia back in the 2022 story? That's a great question as well. I mean, me personally, the short and sweet answer is more than likely no. As much as I would like them to, I don't foresee it happening. That's not to say that it couldn't, but I don't know. For me, I personally don't believe that that will happen. I feel like that Nia's story is fully concluded, whether that's good or bad. I mean, she did have a good story personally. I just personally wish I would see her more, as Ninjago is still continuing, but I think that more than likely she is probably not coming back. And the next question here, do you think that Master of the Mountain is overrated? My personal answer is somewhat and sometimes. If anybody watched my most up-to-date ranking the seasons video, you guys will know that I ended up having Master of the Mountain around middle of the pack, I think is where I ended up sitting, a lot lower than some of my previous ranking the seasons list, where I personally actually put it much higher than it deserved. Um, I mean, in my opinion, looking back at Master of the Mountain itself, for me, really the only thing I ever rewatched from it is the finale, which the finale is excellent. I will totally admit that. But the rest of the season is kind of meh. There's a couple other pretty good episodes as well, but most of the season is just kind of meh, okay, or mediocre, or just flat out bad. So for me, I can't justify putting the season high up and giving it a high overall rating when there is actually a number of flaws to it. So for me, when people do have it quite high on their list sometimes, which I don't see too often, but I do think that it is sometimes overrated, but not all the time. And this next question here, that was just in the bunch of them here, is kind of hilarious and gave me a chuckle. And the question is this too many questions? To be completely honest, I'm not going to say no that overall that this is too many questions. It would make me kind of feel bad to just not want to answer somebody's question, but I will totally admit that I know there's still a fair number of these to go after this, but I'm not going to say it's too many. But to be honest, I can't say that I would want to answer as many if I did another Q&A again, but I've definitely been satisfied with all the questions that have been asked so far, which I'm glad that they're all really good questions and nothing has been too obnoxious to answer. So, really glad that the questions that were submitted were great. So, I'm going to say that it's not too many questions, but it's definitely quite a lot to answer. And this next question here, do I think that Master Wu has gotten worse or better as a character? And what do I think is his best season? As for the first part of that question, do I think he's gotten worse or better? That's kind of a split down the middle for me. I think that they have definitely given him more story and more backstory and stuff like that, which is not a bad thing. I've definitely enjoyed that. But at the same time, I mean, me personally, I mean, for me, I kind of enjoyed Master Wu less after season 7, and then really enjoyed him less after season 10. I mean, through seasons 8 through 10, he was good, not as good as he was before, but not bad. But now, like season 11 onward, he's just been kind of meh, mediocre, okay. He's just kind of been there. He hasn't been all that great. He's had a couple of okay moments in a couple recent seasons, but nothing that spectacular. So, I mean, I think they've given him more good story, but his overall character I don't think has gotten all that better, at least for me seeing him on screen. As for what is his best season, I mean, it's got to be either 1, 5, or 7. I think those are a few of the seasons where he had some of the most development. So those would be my picks for Master Wu's best season. And the next question here, do I consider seasons 4 and 5 to be team seasons? My quick answer is yes, I would consider them to be team seasons because even though for season 4 Kai was on the box art for the sets, it is not a Kai focused season really. It is definitely a full team season. And then as for season 5, they have kind of a Lloyd slash Moro, kind of a ghost-eyed Lloyd on the box. And I would again say that season 5 is not a Lloyd season. I mean, he was not even really present in most of season 5 besides being possessed by Moro, which doesn't really make him accountable. And it was up to the other ninja to save him and all as a team. So I would definitely consider both season 4 and 5 to be full team seasons, not an individual ninja focus season. As for the next question here, why is Lloyd my favorite ninja? That's a great question, and it's actually been a while since I've kind of talked about my favorite ninja and kind of ranking the ninja, and I really do need to put an updated ranking the ninjas video out sometime here relatively soon. But if anybody didn't know, Lloyd is my favorite ninja, and I know that may surprise a lot of people because, a lot of Ninjago YouTubers like are, hesitant or never rank Lloyd up with the rest of the ninja. Like if you're doing a tier ranking style, they never put Lloyd in like the best tier. They put him usually one below, or they just don't really think that Lloyd compares to a lot of the other ninjas. And I mean, I see where they're coming from in their thought points and other stuff like that. I get their points, but for me, I don't know. I just personally like Lloyd. I like his character, especially like once he became a ninja, like I guess late season 2 onward. Like I personally just relate to his character a lot, and I just think he has had good stories. And yeah, I don't know. And maybe it's just because he's the main ninja. I don't know. I mean, I've just always really liked Lloyd, related to his character a lot, and personally enjoyed the stories they've gave him, and maybe that he's kind of the leader of the ninja team and he has a leadership role which fits kind of my personality a lot of the times, and that's just because I just relate to Lloyd a lot. I think is why personally he's my favorite ninja. Old school Kai seasons 1 through 7 I related to a lot as well, though in some senses, and I personally liked him. But yeah, Lloyd has stayed my favorite time and time again, all the way from season 2 all the way to now. So yeah, personally he's my favorite. And the next question here, what villain slash side characters do you think are overrated? I haven't put too much thought into it, but if there is one villain that comes to mind that I feel is overrated a lot of times, it has got to be Emperor Garmadon. After I made my top 5 villains video, I saw just so many comments where Emperor Garmadon was like usually up in the top 3, which I mean, it's not to say that I think he's a bad villain. Like I gave him an honorable mention in that video, but I just don't think that he's like top 3 villains. Like he's good, but I think he's definitely overrated by a lot of people a lot of times. So I mean, that's just a villain that I think is overrated. I don't really think there's too many side characters that are overrated. I really can't think of any right off the top of my head, actually. I think most of the time they either are good where they're at or they're actually underrated. So I think there's not really any side characters, at least that I can just think of right now, that are overrated. But I would say that Emperor Garmadon is an overrated villain. And as for the second part of this here, or I guess the next question really, but complete opposite, what villains or side characters do I think are underrated? That's a great question as well. For me, there's one villain and 3 side characters that come to mind that I think are underrated. And for the villain, it's got to be the Skull Sorcerer. Now, I know that that's an unpopular opinion, but I believe that the Skull Sorcerer is underrated. Personally, he's one of my favorite Ninjago villains. He's in my top 5 villains, actually, and I definitely think he's underrated. And then also, as for the side characters that I believe are underrated, they actually come from the same season, that being the Upply. I don't think that they get enough love most of the time. I think people kind of just are like, yeah, the Upply, they're there. And it seems like most people only like Plundar, I think. I don't know. I mean, personally, I think they're all pretty interesting, and I would really love to see them back. So those are the two, or I guess four, characters that I think are kind of underrated as of villains and side characters. And the next question here, what is your favorite Ninjago J joke? And I really don't have time, to be completely honest, to go back through all of Ninjago and try to find my absolute favorite J joke. I just don't have the time to go back through, and I don't remember every single solitary one. But if there is one that is really funny to me that I really remember, and it's actually a slightly more recent one, but from season 8, early on, when Mr. E breaks into the palace and has the Oni mask, and he puts it on, and then he has the 2 extra arms or limbs that grow, and then Jay's like, 4 arms, like that's new, and then, they start fighting. I just always get a kick out of that because, we have so many 4-armed baddies in Ninjago now. It's just kind of funny, and that joke just totally made me laugh. Is it my all-time favorite? I don't know. Again, I don't have time to go through every single J joke and have a whole comedic session, but that one is definitely pretty funny to me, so I think it definitely is a contender. And the next question, what do I think of the concept of ships in the community? As I talked about with the Kai and Skylar ship question a little bit back, I don't necessarily have a problem with like ships in the, Ninjago world and in the community. I guess in the realm and world of Ninjago, I have no problem with it. I think it makes for great storytelling. Now, when it comes to the community, that's a whole nother ball game, because the community sometimes just gets so wound up in it, and they get, I guess, too love struck per se, and they really just blow stuff out of proportion and start big issues and all these things, and it's just the community always gets too crazy with stuff sometimes. So in the community, I think it needs toned down. In the show, I think it's totally fine. So, just depends on what angle you're looking at it from. And the next question, what is your favorite Ninjago poster? I'm assuming you mean the season posters that come out every season and are released. But as for my favorite one of those, ooh, that is really tough. I mean, the Prime Empire one is really sweet looking. I love just the depth of it and all the colors and stuff. But even also the season 13 one is really epic as well. It gives off very Avengers Infinity War poster vibes, the style and the way they did the characters on it. So that's really cool, and I personally enjoy that. But also, even the most recent one as of now, the season 15 Seabound poster, really looks epic as well. I do have to say that the newer the posters are, I do think the better they have gotten. They really have done some awesome things with those posters. So those would be a few that I really think are epic looking posters. I can't really choose just one, but yeah, those are definitely great contenders. So yeah. And the next question here, who is the worst ninja in my opinion? Now that's a difficult question, and it's just so difficult to answer because, I mean, to choose one ninja that is the worst or the bad one out of all of them is just so impossible because I think they're all good. And so to choose one ninja over the entire timeline of Ninjago as being the worst the entirety through is just not even plausible either. So, I mean, I can't really choose an answer for this easily. I would have to say that if I had to choose one of the times a ninja was just one of my least favorite, it would be kind of Kai from season 8 through season 11, that newer version of Kai. That would have to be my least favorite version of one of the ninjas. And so that's what I'm going to choose as my worst ninja, not Kai overall, because seasons 1 through 7 and after season 11, like 12 and onward, I think Kai has been fine. But season 8 through 11 is going to be my pick for the worst ninja or worst version of a ninja. And the last question of this video here, who is the worst Ninjago character? And, that's a tough question as well. You know, obviously there is no short supply of bad characters in Ninjago, but if I had to choose the worst character, I mean, off the top of my head, I'm just going to have to go with Clutch Powers. I mean, he is an absolute garbage character. They absolutely destroyed the character of Clutch Powers when they introduced him in season 11. He's just some dummy bum who ends up like breaking his legs in season 11, you know, and then later I figured, oh, maybe they could redeem him in the island. Nope, they absolutely made him even worse in the island and even worse in Seabound. So, you know, he's got to be the worst character in Ninjago by far. He's just an absolute wreck. And yeah, so definitely the worst Ninjago character. And that'll now conclude this entire long video for all of my Q&A answers. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is the video I've probably put the most effort into on my channel, and I'm definitely quite proud of how this video turned out. So I really would appreciate a like and subscribe if you guys did enjoy this video. And I know this video is incredibly long, so I don't want to spend too much more time talking here. So once again, I thank you for watching this video, and thanks for all the amazing questions, and thanks for surpassing my expectations and smashing 250 subscribers on my channel. We're darn near 300 now as of the time it's taken me to record this entire answers video for the Q&A. So let's keep it up. I can't wait to hit 300 with you guys. But yeah, with all that said though, I really don't have much else except please, if you're watching this video within the first number of days that it's posted, please check the pinned comment I will put down there. Otherwise though, I really hope you guys enjoyed. I don't have anything else, so I will see you all in the next video. So bye!